Economics professor Peter Morici joins us now. Peter, your reaction to this, in particular, the reaction to you've got to get it done. No matter what, you've got to get it done. And you say what?
Well, there are two imperatives here. Obamacare, whatever this bill's shortcomings, keeping Obamacare would be worse. And the other thing is, let's face it, if the Republicans can't get it together on this, they will not be able to pass much else. They have to simply learn to compromise among themselves, each accept a half a loaf, so they can be a governing party.
Now, the right, many conservatives, or some conservatives are saying, look, this doesn't repeal Obamacare. It's Obamacare light. I disagree with that. If you get rid of the taxes and you get rid of the mandates and various other things within that bill, I think you've essentially suppressed Obamacare and you can change it more later. What say you?
Well, it is Obamacare 2.0. I mean, we're going to continue to have the exchanges and so forth, but it's a much lighter version. I don't believe that it is more oppressive. I believe it is less oppressive. As we know, it is very difficult to take away benefits once you've given them out, and this is, an attempt to do that. The Republicans the conservatives have to understand they simply don't have a majority of the Senate, and they have to compromise. This is a good deal. From here, we can, as you say, make it better later on.
Okay, hold on a second, Peter. Peter Kernan is with me. You say the same thing. You've got to get it done, and this is better than nothing.
I'm a little worried because I'm starting to agree with the Economist, but I happen to think everything he said is correct, that repeal and replace is an ideal that will not be reached because you do not have the votes. Yes. This is a reasonable approach. The conservatives, particularly, are not going to get something more conservative through. They're not.
They'll compromise.
They're going to have to.
Okay. Peter, come back in, please. Got a new survey. It shows the average millennial eats out 5 times a week. That's far more than older people. The script says, is that a problem? Is that a problem?
No, it's not a problem at all. It's a way of balancing lifestyles. I look at my son in New York, a practicing lawyer, along with his significant other. They put in 12-hour days. At the end of the day, it's tough to cook. I mean, they don't go to a sit-down meal that costs them $75 a head, but there are many more choices available in moderate service restaurants where you can order something reasonably sophisticated, pay $15, and have it brought out to you. And for lower-income people, there are still McDonald's and so forth, but the range of choices is increasing. What's hurting in the restaurant business is the old-fashioned sit-down, hour-and-a-half meal, high labor, high cost. Those folks are feeling it. But for young people, this is a substitute for having domestic help the way people did 100 years ago. It's
actually cheaper to eat out if you're just a single or there's just one other person in your household. It's cheaper to eat out than buying all the ingredients and endlessly cooking. That's my perspective. Okay, hold on a second, Peter. Peter Kernan, you say?
I say there's been a change in the entire food chain, literally, in the way that food gets manufactured, produced, and distributed. The modalities are changing. That's why you're seeing people like Dan Loeb buy $3.5 billion worth of Nestle, because they know there's going to be a different way. That's why Amazon is going after opportunities like Whole Foods. If you look at grocery penetration online, grocery plus drug, it was 1.5% of the total. So $8 billion out of almost $1 trillion of grocery. Online has barely touched the grocery business. The food chain is changing completely.
Before you go away, Peter Morici, I do want your take on the news out of Europe. That is Google fined $2.7 billion because of anti-competitive practices. And you say what?
The Europeans love to fine successful American companies, especially where they can't match them. They have an administrative process over there that's very difficult to appeal. It's not particularly fair. I mean, this is really the administrative state gone amok in the worst possible way. This is a good reason why Brexit is a good idea.
Last word from Peter Kernan.
I think it's administrative friction. I agree. It has no impact on Google long term. Zip, zero, none.
Yeah. When the Europeans start to innovate themselves, then I'll start listening.
Well, they don't like when we come in and disrupt their business, but they'll sort of figure out disruption when it's at their back door. So if there was going to be $1 billion fine they were talking about last week, so they tripled it. For Google, this is, in the long game, irrelevant.
Peter Morici, thanks for being with us again. Good stuff, Peter.